Hey, photographers, it's Ben from TAFE. How are you today? I'm going to be working on some black and white photos for you. And when I say black and white, I mean black and white. I like a strong black, a deep black, and a really bright white in the vast majority of my black and white photos. I don't really go in for the wishy-washy grey scale kind of thing or the duotone. I just want crunchy black and a poppy white. Basically, I shoot my images in color, just like anyone else, either JPEG or RAW or whatever I feel like. Every now and then, I will shoot on a black and white preset, but for the most part, I'm shooting in color, converting to black and white later. So I'm going to edit in Aperture because I kind of feel like Aperture today. It's very sort of similar to Lightroom. In fact, most of you who have used Lightroom will feel really at home in Aperture, and those of you who use Aperture are going to have to get used to Lightroom because Apple have announced Aperture is no longer going. There's not going to be any new There's not going to be any new versions of Aperture. Rather, they're going to do something sweet. Hopefully, I've got my fingers crossed with their Photos app, which is yet to be announced. Anyway, so basically over here you've got your adjustments. In here is your photo. Up here there's a bunch of brushes and stuff to play with and cool toys. And down here is your little image picker. Alright, so aside from my one rule, I want a black and I want a white. There are no rules, and I sort of just play and feel around till something looks good. Alright, let's get started. So, because I've already edited these things, you'll probably find my levels, curve, and all that is kind of looking pretty sweet. I'm just doing the black and white conversion here, so I'm not necessarily going to be punching in these bits or anything like that. Although I could probably, yeah, sure, why not? Alright, so my first big step to make this black and white, punch down the saturation. And it's looking a bit flat. So I might see if I can bring the blacks up. And that's looking a little bit better. What I'm really hoping for is something that'll make this skin pop, and I'm wondering if I will run over just a couple of looking at the different filters to see what'll happen to the skin. So the red filter will sort of give me that kind of starting point. Orange. Green's not too bad. I don't think any of these higher contrast things are gonna get me anywhere really, just by gut. That's way too much. Infrared's kind of nice, but a bit wishy-washy on the background. I'm wondering about green or blue. I think I'll skip it and just work it. Alright, so kind of want a bit of punch in these sorts of areas, so I'm going to try and find a curve that'll give me that. And obviously that curve's going to affect the exposure everywhere, but if I just apply it there and then tell my computer to brush the curve in, I'll just shrink this brush down a bit. Here we go. And just kind of paint that in a bit for the dog. That looks good. And then I think I want to add another curve for the gentleman's face. The reason I'm not using levels is because if I do a levels adjustment here, I think these highlights in his glasses are going to overexpose pretty badly. But with a curve, I can get a bit better control over them at that end and just sort of push this point. That's too much. Sorry, there's a bit of a lag on my computer here due to the screen grabbing. Somewhere there is kind of cool. Alright, let's brush that in. Alright, that's not bad. I'm just looking for a bit of edge grunginess now. A bit of, not so much contrast, but perhaps, what's the word I'm looking for? Definition or clarity, depending on the program you're on. All I could think of was clarity, and I know it's not clarity in this program. So definition's kind of working on the edges a bit to just give them a bit of a crispiness. I don't mind that. I think that's coming along alright. What I am thinking is I might just boost that curves again just on his face. Somewhere there. That's alright. I don't mind that. I'm being a bit quiet in this video, aren't I? It's not really good. See what happens if I pull that contrast around. And like I said, look, I'm just literally just playing until I see something I like. Brush enhance in. Because the enhance and the contrast are in the same block. It's given me some argument at the minute. Yeah, that's not bad. So before and after. Yeah, I'm not too bad. Well, I think I might just punch those whites a bit. Now that's, as you can see, it's throwing away quite a bit of data. It's probably a little bit distracting in those glasses there. So what I'm thinking is, if I'm clever and I zoom in, and this is quite a low res file compared to a what my camera would put out these days, because I took this several years ago and gave it a bit of a cropping. That's pretty much about all we've got left. So what I've done is I've basically just brushed away those levels, that levels adjustment from those highlights, just to keep them under control a bit. I reckon I might whack on a vignette, and let's just play around with the radius here for a minute until we see something we like. Give it a toggle on and off. Yeah, cool, happy with that. Nice. So now we're going to move on to the next photo, which is it's different. It doesn't have a face in it. It's almost a landscape. It's got a fella here taking a photo. So I'm going to go from here and try and introduce some punch. I'm thinking this area here is probably going to go quite white, but we'll see what we do. Often I will just have a quick fiddle around under my black and white presets here just to see what might give me a nice starting point. I pretty rarely just click on a preset and go done, but I think they kind of give you a nice sort of idea as to where to go. What do you reckon about higher contrast 2 versus infrared, or something really grungy. Nah, we don't want that. Alright. After all that, I'm just going to go and punch it out myself, I think. So let's go back up to saturation. Drag that down to 0. And we got a nice black in there. That's not bad. I do not hate that at all. That is cool, but as you can see here, grey, the whites are sort of hanging out over here. Oh, that's better. That's much nicer. And we're probably getting a little bit of banding and stuff through here. I think that's just because of inherent to the file and the fact that the file size is really tiny because I've just pulled this down off the internet to work with. I think if we were doing this with a full res file, that'd be a little less scary. Bit of a vignette. And I don't know about you, but I'm quite okay with that. I probably still like the color version more though, if I'm honest. I just like how this the red just grips, whereas it kind of gets a bit lost in there. I don't necessarily know that punching the saturation of the reds post dropping the saturation is really gonna do a lot. In fact, I don't think it's doing anything. Yeah, alright, so I'm gonna call that on that one and then move over to this cool guy here, which I shot on a holiday back to Tassie to see some friends recently, and this guy literally just hangs out in a second-hand store, and he was sitting in the window. I said, mate, please, can I take your photo? And he said, yeah, go for it. I said, can you just look out the window? And then that happened, and I was like, oh, cool. So, color-wise, we're doing alright. It's already had an edit, so we've got a alright. I think it's pretty clear to say we've got a black, and the whites are just on the cusp of not overexposing, just on his cheek and all that. So I don't think this will be too much work to knock out. I would be tempted just to drop the saturation, and you sort of see, like, once you in color, you get away with a bit, but then it's almost like you need it to overexpose a bit in black and white just to get it where you want it. Yeah, so I've just gone and done that, and then I might just punch up a bit of this old definition or so. I'm pretty sure I gave it a fair flogging in the color version, and judging by how the file is sort of behaving in the shadows, I'm reckoning it copped a fair smashing when I was doing the color version. But that's kind of cool. I don't know, what do you reckon about the blacks? Too black? Is there such a thing as too black? I'm looking at this and I'm just wondering. I think that's good. Before, after. Yeah, I don't know. Which one do you like better, the color or the black and white? I think I like the black and white. Anyway, so really quickly, that's my process for playing with black and white photos. Just get in there, hit some sliders, and go for it. You'll see below this, I'll include a video from Zach Arias, who I think just works really well with black and whites and gets on this sort of idea of just playing really quickly, and seeing where the edits take him, and I really like that idea. Yeah, so before, after, before, after, before, after. Alright, cool, that's me. Have a very good one. See ya.